I think I cannot just generalize it by saying that every meeting which Pakistan attends with its with the multilaterals in each and every meeting, Pakistan attends the meeting without any preparation. But let me just give you a little bit of background. Uh, Under Pakistani law, the business or the workings of the federal government are regulated by certain rules, and these rules are called the Rules of Business 1973. So, Pakistan's dealings with the multilaterals, which would include Asian Development Bank, the World Bank, International Monetary Fund, uh, Islamic Development Bank, so on and so forth. So, mainly the dealings with these international financial institutions are done by the Economic Affairs Division and the Ministry of Finance. Since these are economic matters, I would think that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs would not be involved. Uh, Having said this, if the matter comes to signing of an agreement with an international organization or with a sovereign government, under the rules of business, you have to seek approval or consent of the Ministry of Law and Justice. So let's start with the issue of negotiating a loan or negotiating a deal with either the Asian Development Bank or the World Bank or International Monetary Fund. Obviously, all of these institutions are the products of international law, and the international law in relation to these international financial institutions is contained in the relevant multilateral treaties. So, if you want to negotiate something with the International Monetary Fund, it is absolutely essential that you should have in your team lawyers who know public international law, who know the workings of international financial institutions, and everything is contained in the relevant treaties. For instance, in the case of IMF, in the previous decisions of International Monetary Fund. And who does this work in Pakistan? International Monetary Fund is dealt with in Pakistan not by Economic Affairs Division, but by the Ministry of Finance. And unfortunately, our Ministry of Finance does not even have a legal department. So if you are negotiating a bilateral agreement with a foreign government or with someone, you absolutely go there without legal advice. And this is like, a patient who is in fourth stage of cancer, and the patient insists that he or she is going to basically do the treatment herself or himself. I mean, this is exactly how it is. For instance, if we use medicine as an example, you go to a you go to a hospital, and this is a 2,000 bed hospital, and this 2,000 bed hospital only has surgeons. So, obviously, if your disease has reached a stage where it requires surgery, then, those surgeons would be very helpful. But if your disease does not require surgery, what could those surgeons do? Unfortunately, 99.9% lawyers in Pakistan, they're litigation lawyers. So even if you involve them in a stage where the government is just starting its negotiations with a foreign government or with a multilateral, or say with a large multinational, if you are even accompanied by a litigation lawyer would be of almost no help, because the litigation lawyers do not have the skills which are required for undertaking a transactional, or what we call in Pakistan is corporate work. So what we need in Pakistan is, number one, an appreciation of the fact that our bureaucrats, they may be extremely talented, they may be extremely honorable, honest, and everything, but they require legal support, and they do not go for legal support because they feel this is that turf war. The bureaucrats, they feel that if they bring in a lawyer, then the lawyer is going to basically take over, and they do not want to basically hand over control to someone who is not from the bureaucracy. So it's a catch-22 situation. You need the lawyers, you need competent transactional lawyers who have the courage to say no to a very, very senior bureaucrat, who have the courage to say no to the Prime Minister of Pakistan. So even when you go for lawyers, you you mainly end up with lawyers who you use as rubber stamps. That this is a very, very basic problem, but no one in Pakistan has bothered to look into this issue. It's a very simple issue, but it requires addressal, and no one is interested in addressing this issue. The problem in Pakistan is that everything has to end up in a court. So no matter how much due diligence you have exercised, no matter how strong and ironclad your agreement is, no matter how perfect your legal opinion is, the other party would just say no, or the other party would just violate that agreement. And you go to the court, and invariably a stay order would be issued on day one, when you would not even be before the court. And in my law practice, I'm in law practice for more than 25 years. There's been only one occasion where I've seen the vacation of a stay order. So once a stay order is issued in Pakistan, I've never seen that stay order being vacated. So the lawyers in Pakistan and the businesses in Pakistan, they realize that everything is going to end up in a court of law. So when everything is going to eventually end up in a court of law, why should they be spending all this money on corporate or transactional lawyers who at the end of the day, or whose advice or whose skills at the end of the day would be of no value, because the judges, they pay very little attention to what is actually written in the contract and what terms were agreed upon between the parties. And I think the biggest problem being faced by Pakistan is that when we negotiate with foreign governments or foreign corporations, we do not negotiate a business deal. So what would typically happen is that the Prime Minister of Pakistan would have a meeting with the President of Prime Minister or the corporation of X country, and then the Prime Minister would make an announcement to the effect that X country or X corporation is going to invest $2 billion in Pakistan. Now, the conversation which has taken place between the Prime Minister or the very senior Pakistani politician and the foreign government or the foreign corporation, this is just the beginning of a dialogue. But in Pakistan, these people present this dialogue as if this is a done deal. So once the Prime Minister has taken this stance, everything is given to the relevant ministry, and then the requirement or the job requirement of the relevant secretary is to ensure that that thing materializes. And the secretary doesn't have a choice. If it's in Pakistan's benefit, if it's not in Pakistan's benefits, if there is something which Pakistan needs to give, or if there is something which Pakistan should not give, the secretary does not have a choice, because the decision has already been made at the highest level. So at that time, the foreign government or the foreign multinational would just send 800 pages draft of the agreement to the secretary, and the secretary does not have the freedom or the liberty to make changes in it, because the Prime Minister has already made an announcement to the fact that it's a done deal. So basically, they just sign the agreement, and that's the end of it. And after 5 or 10 years, when a dispute arises, you realize that you signed an agreement which would not protect your rights in an international forum. And increasingly, in every international agreement, there would be a dispute resolution clause which would ask for dispute resolution overseas. So the simple solution is that you should start consulting competent and honest lawyers who have the courage to say no to the prime minister, who have the courage to say no to the secretary and negotiate a business deal. Because the lawyer is not going to tell you what is a good business deal or what is a bad business deal. You have to make the business decisions which are in the interest of Pakistan. But this hardly ever happens because the decision has already been made on the highest level. And this is the biggest problem with Pakistani agreements, because they do not actually protect Pakistan's business interest. And it's the same thing that you finalize the agreement, you sign the agreement, and after 6 months or a year, you would say that no, we want to renegotiate it because the person who actually signed the agreement on behalf of Pakistan, government of Pakistan, he was either incompetent or he was compromised or he was corrupt. And this is a stance which Pakistan takes in each and every international dispute resolution, and this stance gets rejected every time before every arbitral tribunal.